Hello, hello, all you beautiful people. I'm so happy to be back. Last week was a down week for me. So, welcome to Nicole Live or Live with Nicole. Today we have Dennis Allen, and later on we will have Holly Hope. She is a local energy worker, and she's amazing at emotional clearing and she'll be on the second half. But right now we have Dennis Allen, and tell us a little bit about you, Dennis.
Um, well, I'm just moved to Colorado. I'm a MBA, energy empowerment guru. I've written the book Strong Thanks, Courage of the Wholehearted, and I'm just here to support you. And I love the work you're doing.
Oh, thank you very much. Today we're talking about suicide wellness. So I've heard when I asked Spirit what today's show should, or what message that I could share today that would hit most people in the heart space, because right now during these shifts of energy, there's just so much going on, and the suicide wellness kept coming up to me, and as I was asking around, I was asking, what does that look like? The suicide wellness to the suicide awareness to the suicide prevention and all this stuff, and topics came to me as I was asking clients is listening to people, listening to what people are really sharing with you. So my perspective through my clients is today we'll just give some ideas of how to work with people that are suffering from suicidal thoughts, and also some of the I guess just really talking to people that are suicidal right now. Let's just get right down to it, and understand there is a lot of people suffering from from not feeling like they're good enough, from substance abuse, there's just so many facets of these family units that are suffering from this depression. And so I asked Spirit, what is depression? What does that mean? What does that look like? And it's the not feeling good enough. And then when you don't feel good enough, words don't come. And it seems like when we ask or talk to our loved ones about about the suicide, that it's, I think my most asked question was, how do I talk to anybody when I don't know what I'm feeling? And when I do talk to them, they don't listen because they think that I'm trying to get attention. And so I ask my clients, are you? Is that what you're trying to do, is get attention? Well, maybe. So then I started like working back and forth through the client to the family. And I asked the family members, they're like, well, we're just angry because they're always trying to get attention. Okay, so people, that somebody's suffering is in need of attention. Why is that negative? When you love this person, you really want them. It's a lot of work. Believe me, I work with these beautiful people every day, and it's a lot of work on both parts. But the word love means that, and family is in support. Is okay. Then I'm going to take the time as the loved one of the person's in suicide behaviors. Say, what if they're asking for attention, and the only attention that I'm giving them is negative, then they're gonna that's what they're going to keep attracting. So I sat with that for a little while, and I'm like, hey, what this suicide wellness, hey, you out there that is suffering from these thoughts of feeling worthless and feeling like you need to go back to substance, or that you are on substance, and that this cycle that you're going. Well, you know what? It's okay where you're at. What can we do now? There's nothing we can change in you or in our loved ones where they're at. But at this time, in this moment. But what we can do is listen to them. They don't want a solution. They don't know their solution yet. And they definitely don't have the solution for them until they discover what it is inside of them that's creating them not to want to live. And so like this back and forth with my clients, just really observing how can I show up for you as this person. Now we're kind of role playing today, apparently. As y'all know, this radio station goes as spirit guides, and sometimes it just goes all over the place, but eventually it will come back to one amazing message. So I'm asking back and forth the family members and seeing that they're all blaming each other for feeling like they don't matter in each other's lives. Well, he doesn't matter, he wouldn't do this. Or I don't matter, he wouldn't do this. Or if he really loved me, he wouldn't do that. You know, both sides are saying the exact same thing. And it's kind of, I'm inviting you, family members, and the ones that are now seeking wellness. Like, this is what I want to share with you. This is a wellness place. This is where you're going to find that sometimes you're going to go into and you're going to do things that old behaviors that you're not. You wish you didn't. I'm gonna say, okay, what can we do now about it? You know, let's find where we can create a space that if that happens, you can come and talk to somebody about it. Because I found that people relapse. People go back in relapses in mental, emotional, substance, whatever. You relapse into behaviors. What if that the people, the loved ones that are supportive, listen? Don't interject their stuff on them, because as my observation is, most people that are trying to give the person that is depressed and in these thoughts, the person that they're seeking information from is maybe has a happy demeanor, but they're giving information that's not working for them either. So really think about that. I mean, when you're giving information, is the information you're giving working for you? And then you expect it to work for somebody that's already in a depressed state. So this is really for both sides. When I'm in these family sessions, I'm just like, I love them both, and like you can see both sides, you know. And I have my own suicide story that and my mom's here today, and she doesn't like to be on the camera, but we love her. She's always here to support. But I want to ask her, what is it like to be on the other side of it? Like, what is it like to be on the other side of it? And she says you feel helpless. You feel helpless. She's not going to talk. I love my mom. She's going to actually we have Holly here, so we're going to go ahead and my mom's going to bring her in and we'll get her on in just a minute. So, Dennis, what is your say?
I've seen it, and I've had close friends that have committed suicide. It's been it's a challenging scenario. I've seen it, and there's some tough things. I think there's 3 points that I would make that I think are helpful with regards to wellness and well-being. I think the first one would be acceptance, and that's in a form of, you're right about that. It might be a distorted view, but somebody needs to be accepting that that's the world that person is seeing it at the time, and to acknowledge that and to accept it. It might not be, you might not like it, but it is what it is, and just the acceptance, I think, is powerful. I think another point is that anchoring and expansion. In life, there's those moments where you just get bigger, you expand, and then you anchor it. You have the moments that are kind of happy and expansive, and your hands go up in the air and you're very feeling joyful. And then there's other moments where you kind of curl up and you need to be grounded. And that's just the ebb and flow of life. And I think awareness of that is helpful. Mm-hmm. And then I guess the third point would be to use the right tool for the right job. Sometimes we're trying to solve problems with our mind when it's a job for our soulful self. It's a job for more of an energy flow, and to show up in a bigger way rather than trying to fix it from the mental perspective.
Right. And my biggest question is that I get asked is, how do they show up if they don't have a tool? What is one beginning tool? Because a lot of people are like, I don't even know how I feel. How can I pull a tool out of a toolbox? So a practical.
So one
idea.
One specific tool that I think is very powerful is pausing on the in-breath and pausing on the out-breath. And the reason for that is that, so as you breathe in, I mean, you can try it. Just breathe in and you pause, hold it, and then you breathe out and breathe out all the air that you can, and then hold it. And the reason for that is there's two systems in our body. You have our parasympathetic and our sympathetic nervous system. And those two, one's the gas pedal, one's the brake. One's I need to go forward and get something done. The other one's calm and relax and heal. And I want to bring both of those systems into coherence. I do that with that pausing of the in-breath. The other thing it does is it prioritizes. Our body works on a priority system. So if I give a pause, our mind and our emotions are thinking, oh no, is he or she going to breathe again? Oh my gosh. And then the thoughts that were not necessarily that important, they dissipate. And that's just a simple technique, pausing on the in-breath, pausing on the out-breath.
Wow, that is beautiful. So as we're thinking and we're in the space of releasing emotions and really going into the energetics now, and my piece of the work is when you're paying attention to the energies that are moving through your body, you're able to release. It has to, you have to have this identity of releasing. And when I work with my clients, the first thing that I share with them is to not hold on to that stuff that doesn't serve you. And through that breath, you're going to bring that into your system and you're going to breathe it out. So I'm going to invite you right now, before we go into our break, to go ahead, and we're going to do the meditation early because we have Holly Hope on the second half. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to invite you to relax. Breathe in this most beautiful white light and let your body expand. Remembering that every piece of you is created of that light. Bring into those energy centers, which in Sanskrit they're called chakras. There's 7 of them right down the core of your body. As you're bringing in this white light, bring it down through the top of your head, the core of your body. Really expansion. Feel the constriction and the expansion. As the breath moves through your body and awakens that inner soulful self right in the heart space. Remember, everything you seek is within inside of you. Expand on that. Imagine this breath that you're taking of light is that very soul that you have been seeking. The questions that you ask are right there. And when you pause in that breath long enough, you'll hear them. The next step is to listen as it moves down through the core of your body. Down and out through your feet, right into the heart core of Mother Earth. We'll move up through the bottom of your feet. This beautiful light show. I mean, play with it. Life is fun. Move it up through your body, really grounding you into this beautiful Mother Earth, this time-space continuum. Be in joy. Be in life. Show up for you. Start right there in that heart. And if any emotions come up, just watch them go away. Bring you back to center. And as you move back into your space, I really invite you to tap your forehead and your heart. This awakens the heart brain and the brain itself. We do have 2 brains, probably more than one that science hasn't allowed us to recognize yet. That's a joke. So when you think about it, the heart brain, they're saying that it has the same neural responders, that has all the same stuff that the brain does, but we're not trained to use it. So imagine just by those simple techniques, that was very simple, under 5 minutes. And it brings you into the now, being in the present moment. In the present gives you anxiety, the past gives you depression. So stay within in the present and really start showing up for yourself. So, did anything come up for you, Dennis?
I love it. To me, it's just this flow of kind of being present. I think it's always nice to try to embody your energy, embody your own soulful self, embody this the essence, the greater magnificence. And I feel like for me, as we do that, or as we're kind of going through that, as you're guiding it through there, I just feel like it up levels. It might sound kind of silly. However, I feel that in just paying attention and just noticing it, now new thoughts show up, higher vibrational thoughts, new actions show up, higher vibrational actions. And I think it's powerful. Felt very powerful.
Live Happy Out Loud. That has been on my Facebook all week because I realized that the joy factor is just so very important. And you know what? Sometimes we seem ridiculous, but that's the fun about it. People, like, I was taking this show too seriously today. I was like, have Amazing Holly Hope on, and I'm like, oh man, I don't even know the board yet. And you know what? Life is uncomfortable sometimes. It's about taking that chance. And you that are in this air quote depression, you know what? It's okay not to be okay today. Tomorrow, wake up and say, you know what? I'm gonna jump into joy for a minute. Let me just try it out. Why not? And I did have a quote from one of my really good friends that suffered from suicide for a while. He said, "You can speak into 1,000 walls before one is broken." And I'm like, what does that mean? And he says, well, you speak to people, and they don't listen, they don't really hear you, or they want to tell you what's wrong with you. And he said, but there was one that shattered. There was one wall that just finally broke, and it's when you listened, when I listened. And I'm like, wow. Just think of how many, and I didn't know this friend very close was sad. I didn't. And I've known him for a very long time. So it's like those people in your household, your family, whatever, you know what, you don't know how people feel. So when you're watching or feeling reactions, they're not yours. It's like, this is when live in kindness, be kind. Like, really, be kind, because you know some people have bad days too, and they're reflecting their selves, and then you're reacting. The most amazing thing you can do is sit quietly and observe, and that's where the growth comes in your family, the family unit itself. So
absolutely,
it's been really exciting movement for me to go into the wellness part, because I brought the awareness and we have the suicide lines, and we do many of that. But it's like, okay, what can we do for the wellness part now? Let's create a positive way to say, you know what, sometimes that happens. You're depressed, maybe you need a rest. You know, I found a lot of people that work way too much, all of a sudden they fall and they nosedive into this huge depression. And it's, you know what, your body, this is energetically, your body heals when it's safe, when it feels safe, and when it's rested. And if you don't get that, then you're bound to crash. And then labeling it every time, oh, it's because my family does it. It's because it's an illness. It's because let's stop the labels. Let's just stop. So you know what? This is how I feel right now in this moment. What can I do with it right now? And for you that are helping your loved ones, how can I show up for you? And, you know, like, switch the words. Like, instead of, why are you always depressed? They already know they're depressed. They're living it, you know.
I think another interesting technique is to ask, instead of why, or is to ask where. When you're feeling that sadness, when you're feeling that sense of depression, when you're feeling that overwhelmingness, just notice, and maybe ask yourself a question: where in my body do I notice it? Where does the depression show up? And is it a sensation? Is it a tension behind your throat? Is it a twist, a knot in your stomach? And just put awareness in that part of your body. And like what you did on the meditation is you just bring that energetically through your body and notice that sensation. You can deal with a little twinge in your body and not have to, that's a tricky way to bypass the language, bypass the mental part, bypass the emotional part, and just go straight to the energetic soulfulness and change it.
Yeah.
That's one idea.
So I was playing a little bit with Facebook. Sorry about that. I was trying to do a watch party and it's turned on. You know what? Your body, if you would show up for your body, it will show up for you. It's because the indicators that Creator, God, Source, whatever that looks like to you, gave us is in the body. We were given the physical to have an amazing experience here, and it's up to us to create it. So when you pay attention to your body, and it doesn't mean go out and never eat meat again. I'm not saying that because I don't want to get a whole bunch of emails that says I told them not to, because I'm not saying change your diet. I'm saying listen to your body. If you have a stomach ache, ask why. Ask what's going on with me. And then with when emotions come through, is this mine? All my clients are empaths, so I have a different way of working with them. Is you know what, that seems like a weakness. They're like, I'm sensitive, air quote sensitive. It's okay, because you're born that way. When you turn that gift into a powerful empowerment, guess what? There's more empaths than there's not. So it's like once you rise, they are going to rise with you. So let's go. So it looks like we are almost out of time. Is there anything that you want to say before we switch over?
I think to really tackle a job like this, it's maybe that's kind of a weird way to say it, tackle a job, but I feel like
we welcome weird here.
Okay, weirdness. If you're playing for back, and sometimes
there's so many ideas. So again, you can reach us at energyhealingbydesign.com, and we will talk to you next week. Dennis, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can you hear? Can you hear? Oh, welcome back to the second half of this amazing Live with Nicole, Return to Consciousness with Holly Hope here from St. George. I am Nicole.
I'm Holly Hope with the Beauty Perspective.
Let me just move a little. We are so grateful for this beautiful community that is first of all, Sean Denovan for allowing us here or opening this space up for us to grow and to share information about energy, about connection, really living in this beautiful world of shifts and changes. And my experience with Holly is that we've crossed paths so many different times and never had an opportunity to completely chat. So this is going to be an amazing conversation.
Might as well start live on air. Why not?
Yeah. So as we're growing with this station, it's kind of like live, learn, grow, and share. And that's what I feel like that we're doing here, because obviously I'm learning the buttons and it's very scary. So as we're talking about, or is it? I guess that's a play on words. Is it scary?
Uncomfortably new. How's that? I like those words.
Come closer to that.
Uncomfortably new. I like those words.
Yeah. So it's like when you're working with different perspectives and how people, it feels like we're constantly worried about what other people are thinking due to like our verbiage, And I love you. You just say it as it is. That's why I just love you. But it creates an uncomfortable boundary. It's like we're separated through language. So as we're bridging this with suicide wellness, which is really important to the community right now because we're losing quite a few teenagers, and we work with that a lot. Is when we're working with people, pay attention to them, not their words, because it's really hard. This is one of the hardest things that I've found in family units is the communication, because you have 2, 4, 5, 6, it doesn't matter. There's like all these different perceptions trying to tell one person that is the one that doesn't know how they feel, but they have 5, 6, 7 people telling them how they feel, and they have no idea. They just don't feel good. So I was like, one of my biggest advices would be, or my things that I've shared with the family unit, is to be an observer. Observe what they're saying. Observe their and listen, because they don't want a solution. Usually, they're looking for support. So, tell us a little bit about you, Holly.
Oh, about me. Well, I do have all teenagers. Well, my oldest teenager is now 21, so been through there. And I am known as the emotional crap clearer. Mm-hmm. So I help negative perspectives be released and identified and all of that jazz. But when I boils down to it, people just say, well, you just kind of clear emotional crap. And I'm saying crap on air, but that is what it is. Sometimes it's the smelly, stinky parts of us that we don't necessarily like, but if we ignore them, then they don't go away, and we just try putting positive on it and paint ourselves up and hide it from ourselves and the world, and then it just bubbles and it comes up at the worst time. And so, in terms of suicide and not being able to handle those emotions, and especially with our teenagers and understanding ourselves, the thing that we want the most in the entire world is to be loved and understood. And so the greatest friction that I see when I teach parents and teens is that if you try and guess and you keep guessing wrong, and then it only makes the disconnect wider. It only makes that space between you grow more frictious. Frictious is a word. I decided that.
That's a good word.
Greater frictiousness. Yep. Yes. And so it creates that friction between you two. And so what it does is actually keeps them from being able to identify what they're feeling. And then it creates a whole new series of emotions, because if I'm not loved and understood, well, what if I'm not wanted? What if I'm just a burden? And if I'm just a burden, then why am I even here? And what is my role in this life? And so for me, a lot of what I love to guide is finding that perspective and finding that pathway and finding the joy in being a messy human, because we all are. And it's when we try and be something that we're not, and we try and have that perfectionism, that we sometimes block it out. So as far as parents and children, one of the biggest things is to ask more questions rather than statements. So just asking, well, could it be this? Am I wrong in this? You know, sometimes I feel like this. Is that kind of what you're feeling? And even if you're wrong, if it's a question, there's a chance for them to evaluate and answer and respond rather than, you don't get me.
Exactly.
No one understands me.
Right.
I'll go to my music. My music understands me, because all music is mostly emotional. That's why we love it. And so it draws out emotions. And even if it's not your own, it feels better than not having to look at that. So.
Right. And the technology these days, I recognize that that's just an escape for them. And I mean, sometimes parents are like, well, that's the only thing that brings them joy, and it's the only thing that can stabilize them. And my perspective of that is that's I'm sorry, parents, but sometimes if you're like, just go away to be on your phone, it's because that you're worn out and you don't have the words, or you don't know how to work with your child, and that's okay. That's just how it is. But that's when you go into that observation of yourself and not project that on your child. That's what and when I'm talking to the parents, that's what I see, and most of them are they get that. They're like, wow, I do have a part to play in this. I don't just have to create a solution and tell my child not to be depressed anymore, and I give you everything. I do this for you. I do that for you. No, you do. And you're doing all this amazing stuff. But there's just one thing that child needs from you, and it's you. It's you, just raw you. Say, honey, what can I help you with today? And if they say, I don't know, I just really want to sit here, say, I'm going to sit here with you then. Because parents say, I retreat to my room. I get mad, I slam the door. I don't want to talk to them, and they go back to their video games, and that they're literally having relationships with the video games, not even getting outside. However, Holly, I do know that you get outside a lot and take your kids. I see it on Facebook all the time, and I absolutely love that. And how is that working in your own life?
Yes. Well, it's really interesting because I worked for a therapist office, and while I was there, I became certified as a child parent play therapy. CPRT. And so building a relationships between your children to process through the emotions that they're feeling that they don't have words for. So as children, before we learn how to speak, we learn how to play. You've seen babies, blow bubbles, and all those fun things, play peekaboo. We know play. Sometimes we don't have the vocabulary to express what we're feeling or to identify it. And so having that unscheduled, pre-planned playtime is the most important. And I am a single mom, and so sometimes our playtime with a 12-year-old son is throwing hatchets at a tree. And they're my own trees, but we do weird things like that, or we'll carve something. We try and do the manly things because I don't normally do them, but I'm like, well, he needs to have some place to use this outlet. And sometimes we try and force how we play, and we try and say, no, you need to play this way. Nope, you have to follow these rules. And sometimes certain kids, they need to be able to express being the rule creator, because that's a place where they get to be empowered. My son, every few weeks, he gets bullied at school. It just happens, and we talk through it and we work through it. But sometimes that's a place where he doesn't feel he's in control because he complains to the teacher and nothing happens, and the kids get away with it, and he's not sure which kid threw the thing. And so for him, he's really upset. So what does he do? He comes home, he gets a hug, he does a little cry because he's an emotional boy, way more emotional than my girls. And then we go play. We go have some way that he can gain control back into his life. So he sets the rules. Usually it's a Nerf war, and usually it's which guns I'm allowed to use. No, Mom, this is sniper mode, so you can only use the long-range missiles. And no, you can't use those ones because I don't want to lose them in the trees. And I have to check myself and go, okay, don't let your rules of play and your rules of engagement be the dictator here. Right here and right now, this is his play and it's his turn. But I usually have like a pistol in my pocket or something that I can pull out because he's so much better than I am.
I love it.
And he's so much faster at loading those guns, and they always get jammed on me. But the funny thing is he gets to play and he gets to win, and sometimes he gets to lose. Like, I still shoot him. Yes, I shoot my son. And it gets out my play that I need. And that's the other thing when you're talking about parents and their role and their side is understanding that we need play. And it's so easy to say, nope, work first. Then when everything's done, when the dishes are done, then we will play. Then I will do this. And honestly, while you're busy worried about a few dishes in the sink, your child has a beautiful chance to connect with you, or you have a chance to connect with yourself and your own friends and your own life. And again, as a single parent, that's one of the most crucial things is we get so caught up in, I got to work and I got to take care of my kids. I got to work and I got to take care of my kids. And we get so caught up in that we forget, oh, wait, I get playtime for me. And I get playtime for me that's maybe with my kids and maybe all by myself. Like yesterday, I went off and had a hike with my dog, just me, because I needed some time to not be a mom. I need some time to get some clarity, to not be a business owner. I needed time just to be. And so I think that's one of the other huge pieces is when we feel balanced within ourselves, it's easier for us to do that check-in. Like, oh, wait, how do I handle this anxiousness I'm feeling over my child and them not seeing eye to eye? Oh, I'm going to go up to the mountaintop. Oh, I'm going to go have lunch with one of my friends just for fun where I can vent and have that connection. So I think that's an important piece too, is as far as play factor.
Yeah. So what I'm bridging here, because as I do these shows and as I work with people, it's I move in. I work differently than most because I didn't get that piece of me because when I died and came back, I forgot all my memory. I had to relearn everything all over again. So I kind of moved in as creating healing for myself, then creating my environment, then creating, because I didn't realize I needed to ask for help. So everyone just thought I knew how to do stuff. So I went to like cut an apple, and I'm like, I don't even know how to do this. So there's a different process that I have. So when people are coming to me, they're pretty much they're done. They're done with their kids are done with them. There's addiction. There's the whole family units that usually come to me. So the steps that you're talking about, I absolutely love, because those are the pieces. They come, we do all this energy work. We work with them in massive amounts of healing and we're literally pulling the toxins and rebuilding their systems. But then there's this emotional piece and these things that they have to know what I do. And I just do it really fast. And they're like, oh my gosh, we feel amazing. And a year later, they still feel amazing. They're like, what did you do? I don't know.
I was just told to do this and I did it.
And so as most know me, I'm spirit guided. So I just move through really fast. But then when I realize there's pieces that people really need to know for their long-term plans, I'm like, how can I bring that to people? And so as I've watched you grow, it's amazing. You're a business owner. You just barely did that transformation, right?
Well, I've done it for 12 years on the side burner, but now it's finally gets to come to the forefront and be full front burner.
Yeah.
So but it's a new transition to this being my only passion versus always just having it. Well, I just do this little thing on the side that sometimes people get to know if we have the right conversation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So suicide has hit both of us, I believe, in the hardcore. Myself, mine was only 2014, and my reasoning was for these gifts were too much for me, and I took a lot of medicine, and I didn't end up going to the other side. They're like, oh, you're already here. They sent me back again.
We're used to you here.
Yeah. Stop coming back. Go do your job. So I realized that these kids also have gifts. They're also awake. So I was born awake, and then by the time that I got to a certain age, I had it so sensitive, it was just too much. And then when I crossed over, I became more sensitive. And then when I jumped back in doing the work again, and your everything is just coming at you, it is. I don't want to say normal, because that's just not the right word, but for a lack of a better word, it is one of the things that us sensitive, air quote, sensitive people do is not know what to do, right?
Mm-hmm. It is very common is probably the word I would use. Like it happens a
Thank
lot.
you.
I'm like, I love words. It's easy. And I think it's easy for us to get lost in that because, well, and I think everybody can relate to this when you have this beautiful spiritual moment. If you've ever had a powerful meditation or a really good sermon, if you're religious, and you have a moment when you feel such ecstasy of the soul is how I would word it. That sometimes you go back to this messy human body and it's really hard to go, oh, there's this. But now I have more information and I know what's on the other side, but then I also have this. And bridging the gap between spirituality and like being just a human is sometimes where a lot of that friction is, I think. And and where we have our gifts. And when I was a kid, I had gifts and I was like, I'm scared and I want to shut them off and I'm just going to tell them to shut off.
Yeah.
Boom. And then I could like feel things and not see things. And so that was even scarier than seeing things because then I couldn't tell where they were or what they were, but I could tell that they were there. And I was just so scared that like anything, whether it was light or dark, was just pushed away from my life.
Mine was when I was 4.5. I fell out of a truck and I was in a coma for 3 days and met the angels. So I didn't realize that they were separate for a long time until people were like, wow, she talks to people. I'm like, you don't? You don't talk, you don't, because I was
wrong with you.
Exactly, because I was just thinking that was normal, and then I'm oh wow, and then I started thinking I was off until then I shut it completely off, and then when I crossed over, I found out how real it really is. When I came back, the same thing happened. I didn't separate the two, so it's been really interesting to integrate the emotion with the light, because when you're outside of this realm, it's all love. It's just one big love frequency. So merging that into this reality has been really, this vibrational reality has been really interesting, and watching people fall apart right now, literally. And it's okay, because guess what? Our third dimensional body is falling apart. The third dimension is learned beliefs, it's old structure systems, it's programming, all this stuff that no one dares talk about because they don't understand it, but yet they can't deny it's happening in their own body. You're falling sick, your lungs, people's lungs are exploding. It's because there's so much light coming in that we're not exploding, people. We're not, that pressure in your chest is expansion to the light, because the light is a different frequency. So you're breathing in and breathing it out, allow it, absorb it. I'm not going to say you'll never have an illness or a bug or a flu or something like that, but really look at it as, wow, maybe this is expansion to grow. And I'm not ill. I'm just not 100%, but I'm not ill. And then find the positive piece, find the positive expansion in anything right now. And I mean, how can you go wrong with doing that, right?
Absolutely. Well, and I think too, as we're looking at that and these emotions come up, emotions are, this third dimension, and they are part of being immortal, part of being a human, and we have them for a reason. So it's like, oh, that's a bad emotion. Well, it has a light and a dark side, just like everything. So for example, an emotion like grief comes up a lot. And, grief is intense sadness over loss. And so even though we have this emotion, it's a signal that something needs to change. Either it's us or our environment. And that's why we're given emotions, so that we can move through life and get towards where we can be open for that expansion. Because if we're just freaking out all the time, then how are we ever going to allow any light in? So if we have these emotions like the grief, it's like we can look at it and go, okay, extreme sadness over loss. Okay, well, I was extremely sad because I lost something. Why? Oh, because I extremely love something. Because I had a beautiful human experience, because I was connected with someone or something that I cherished. And now that it's gone, it means that I no longer need it in my life, and I get to expand that much more, and I get to grow now, and I get to learn how strong I am without this person or this thing. And so every emotion has the light and the dark side to it, and they all get to be celebrated, and they all get to be part of our experience and honored that way. And so just because you're feeling crummy one day, it doesn't mean you're bad or you're off. It just means, oh, I'm getting some information. My body's telling me information. Just like physical ailments, my body is telling me something. And usually the emotions in the body all link together because they are the same unit as well. So sometimes we don't realize that it's just information. It's not necessarily a negative.
And your spirit is also like a muscle. Like, think of if you, when you're working out and you're expanding your muscles and it kind of hurt and you have to nourish them, you have to do certain things. Your muscles, your spirit, even the energetics around your heart is a muscle. But we have this emotion move in, and what we do is we hold on to it instead of going, hey, you know what can I learn about this? What can I learn with this happened? It didn't kill me. It didn't kill me, but how can I expand and strengthen this, so if this situation comes back, that I know how to handle it. You breathe in and you breathe out, and you start going into an observation state where you know that is given to you for growth, and the end result is that you're going to be better. And even if the people that are in the middle of this stuff right now, the other side of it is so liberating when you go to choice, when you let go of these chains, when you let go of the guilt, when you let go of the shame, when you're like, son of a, I just relapse. When you're just saying all of these things in your head, and then it's giving you an excuse to be where you're at. Take that excuse away. Take the power out of that excuse and say, you know what, I'm standing in my space today. And I did. I made a really bad mistake yesterday, but guess what? I'm going to do something different today. Even if it's just little teeny thing different, even a little bit. Each day, do it different and different and different. And then you'll feel a momentum. And you know what? Sometimes you do go back, and that's life. Life experiences happen. So, to the family members, I really encourage you to, I know people, this is one we only have a few more minutes, but people always will tell me, well, they want attention. They want attention. I'm sick of doing this. The family members are to that point. So when they get to that point, I feel like it will take less time for them to sit, observe, and really look at themselves and how they're showing up. So
I think that's exactly true. Like, yeah, they want attention. Well, maybe if they're getting attention, it's not the right kind because it's not feeding the soul. They still don't feel loved and understood. Well, here's your attention, but it's without emotion. We've all had relationships and experiences where somebody did something nice for us, but maybe not for the nice reasons. And so we know what that feels like. We know what inauthenticity feels like. And so if we're doing it, oh, she needs something. Well, what does she need right now? Or what does he need? And what can I give in this moment that I have the capacity to give, but that maybe is going to give the attention that you need? Because it's not always going to fit exactly, but if it's something in the right idea and the right frame of mind, rather than, oh, you just need to get over it. Oh, you just need to move on. You need to pull yourself up and be strong because I've been strong all these times, so you should too. But we forget sometimes, I think, that we had experiences in our growing up that made us strong, that cultivated that. Even if they were experiences where we were rebelling against somebody else, they still made us stronger. And so we need to remember and allow that space to go, oh, they haven't had the experiences that make them stronger. Even if they were the same experiences you had, they're not going to react the same because they are a different soul. They have a different vibration. They have different perspectives. Anybody who has who has multiple kids can tell you they come into the world with their own programming.
And right now, too, these kids coming have different colors. They have different frequencies. They're just so awake. And so I invite you parents to learn from your children. I mean, really, really learn from them because they're teaching all of us so much. And as I travel the world, I watch these family units and these kids and how they learn and love each other with unconditional love. And because they're like, I'm not the best with words, and this is like my biggest challenge is being on the radio because, I barely learned to read and write not very long ago. So I invite you all to just step into the uncomfortable and create, because you'll realize it's not really that uncomfortable. It's not. So I am Nicole Ashton, and you can reach me at energyhealingbydesign.com and follow us on Live with Nicole. And what's your information?
My information, I'm like, is now the segue.
Yeah.
Holly Hope. So you can find me on Instagram, Holly, HOLLIE.hope. Or Facebook, Holly Hope, or my website is thebeautyofperspective.com.
And thank you for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week. Have an amazing week.
Thank you.
Bye.